All right, let's get into this. Day 95. Last lesson, we figured out the volume. So if a rectangular box is 30 inches long, 12 and a half inches wide, and 10 and a half inches high, what is the volume? So anytime we need volume, we go length times width times height. Do you like how it said 10 and a half and I just wrote 10.5 and 12 and a half and I just wrote 12.5? Because am I going to use a calculator? Why, yes, I am. So the length is 30 times the 12.5 width times the 10.5 height. Now, could I have done that in a different order? Absolutely. The commutative property of multiplication says as long as you're multiplying, then the order does not even matter. So we got 30 times 12.5, times, let's try that again. 30 times 12.5 times 10.5. Oh, that does definitely seem way too big. Clear. 30 times 12.5 times 10.5. I like that a little bit better. 3,937.5 inches. And then because we're putting cubes inside the box, I'm figuring out how many cubes will fit inside of it. I'm going to make sure that I do inches cubed, or I write cubic inches. Whew, very cool. 2 lessons ago, we were getting awesome at surface area. So what is this? This is a triangular pyramid. So I need to find the base, and then I need to add the faces to it. So if I look at this bottom portion right here, it is a triangle. So I'm going to go 1/2. Looks like my base is 14, and my height of that base, it's got an arrow right there, is 12.1. So 0.5 times 14 times 12.1 equals 86. And I only have one base. So that's just going to stay 86.8. If I look at the faces, I have 3 faces. I'm going to change colors now because now I'm looking for this part of the triangular pyramid, which is any of these triangles, right? If I look at specifically that triangle, I got it's a triangle, so 1/2 times 14 times the height of that triangle is 13. And that will give me 0.5 times 14 times 13, 91. Now remember there are 3 of those, so I will times it by 3, and I get 279. 273. Where did I get 9? I don't know. All right, now I'm going to add those 2 together. And that gives me 359.8 yards. We're going back to squared, aren't we? Because area, we just found out there were 359.8 squares that would fit on the outside, the exterior of that triangular pyramid. What is the lateral area? Lateral, no base. All I have to do is find the faces. The faces are triangles, so it's going to be 1/2 times 20. The height of that triangle is 16.4. Half of that is 10. Anytime I times anything by 10, I just scoop it. So I have 164, but I will check that with my calculator real fast. 0.5 times 20 times 16.4 is 164. Okay. Now, because it is a square pyramid, there's going to be 4 of those triangular faces. So let me times that by 4 and get 656 meters squared. Booyah. Find the surface area. Here we go again. This is a triangular prism, so I'm going to start with those triangular bases. I see a 3 for the base, a 4 for the height. Half of 4 is 2. 2 times 3 is 6. Now there are 2 of those. So I'm going to say that both of the bases together are 12 square inches. Okay. Now with the triangular prism, we got the bottom base, the bottom rectangle part, and then the kind of two up to the side, right? So I'm going to start with that bottom rectangle right here. These are all rectangles now, so it's just base times height. 3 times 6 is 18. Then I'm going to kind of get this back piece. I remember yesterday I kind of got tricked with this back piece, so I'm going to be very careful today. Now, that looks very confident. That's 5. And then this right here is not 4, because 4 is that height right there. So it's not 4. So what is that piece, that height piece right there? It is, it's right there. It's 6, isn't it? Those two are the same length. Let me get rid of it a little bit. So that is the same as that. So I'm going to go 5 times 6 and get 30. And now I'm going to go with this front rectangle that I have not looked at yet. And that also looks like it's 5 and 6. Oh yeah, look, there's 2 5s. So it's a isosceles triangle. 2 of the sides are the same. So I will have 2 5 times 6s. Okay. And adding all 4 of those up, I will get 12 plus 18 plus 30 plus 30. I will get 90 inches squared. Boom. Good job. Did you notice that I use the 6 every time? Because with all of those rectangles, 6 was the height. That makes me feel good that I feel confident that I did it correctly. Okay. Another surface area. We are getting so good at these. Our trails are so paved. All right. This is a cube. They're all equal sides, which means if I just find the area of one side, I can times it by 6 because a cube has all 6 sides the same. So the base is 2.5 and 2.5, isn't it? So 2.5 times 2.5. That gives me 6.25. And then I'll times that by 6 because there'll be 6 of them that are that exact same. And I get 37.5 yards squared. There we go. See that? Beautiful. All right, done with surface area. Back in time to before surface area, which was just area. Area of a regular octagon. Octagons are like octopuses. There are 8 sides, right? And if we divided all this up, there would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yep, 8 of them. Okay, so let's start just by finding the area of one triangle, and then we can times that by 8, can't we? So I kind of got rid of, there we go. Now you can see it. It is a triangle, so we're going to go 1/2 base times height, and that gets me 5 times 5 times 6.2 is 15.5. And then like we talked about, there are 8 triangles that are 15.2. So we'll just take that area of the triangle and times it by 8 to get the area of the whole entire regular octagon. What was that? 124 inches squared. Create an equation from this graph. Back a few chapters when we were doing tables, equations, and graphs. All right, I already see I could create an XY chart, couldn't I? Because I have coordinates. And an XY chart is just a place where you can write down coordinates and relationships between X's and Y's. Ooh, okay. So what could I do to get from 1 to 25? Okay, well, my option could be whatever X is, I then add 24, because that way when I have a 1 here, I could go 1 plus 24, and that's how I could get the 25. That's an option, right? Option 2 is that I could go okay, I could take the 1 or the x times by 25, and that's how I could end up with 25. I think this option is better. In fact, I know it is because then if I plug in a 3 and go 3 times 25, I will end up with 75. And then if I take a 5 and go 5 times 25, I'll end up with a 125. So you could write it like this, or you'll see this a lot more next year, which is y equals 25x. That is what you'll see more often. But if you just had it like that, that's also correct. Write the inequality for this graph. Okay, so we got a closed circle and we got everything going in the less than direction. So everything blue, we'll do B for blue or X, right? All of these blue parts are less than 14, but because it's a closed circle, it's also including 14. So the inequality is less than, X is less than or equal to 14. Ooh, back to doing conversions with ratios. Okay, how many meters is 2.3 kilometers? All right, well, here's what they gave us, 2.3 kilometers. We're going to make that a ratio by just putting it over 1. Then we're going to put kilometers down here and meters up top because it wants us in meters. Now, if I remember that King Henry died unusually drinking chocolate milk, I know that kilometers is number 1. It is bigger than meters. And the next thing I remember is that it goes 10 times 10 times 10, which would be 100 meters. Remember that units is either meters, grams, or liters. So don't be confused with this M. This M actually stands for millimeters, the very, 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 very tiniest amount of liquid that is measured in the metric system. So we want this M, that's just meters. Okay, oh, and I did 3 jumps, so that's actually 1,000. Any of you catch that? Because 10 times 10 times 10 would be 1 times 1 times 1 is 1 with 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Yep, so there are 1,000 meters in 1 kilometer. So now I just multiply straight across 2.3 times 1,000. That just means I can take the 0.3 and move the decimal 3 times. 1, 2, 3. And then put the decimal right there. So 2,300 meters is in 1 kilometer. That was a really quick chapter that we did when we spent a couple days on it. Did you still remember it? Was there even a trail in your mind with that, or was it completely grown over? 60 lessons ago, we did equivalent ratios. So if I have the ratio 4 to 6, how do we make equivalent ratios? Well, we can make them smaller or simplified by dividing. So we could say that 4 to 6 is the same as 2 to 3, right? Or to get an equivalent ratio, we could also times by the same number. We could times by 2, by 5, by 10, whatever, and we could get equivalent ratios that way. But again, there's oodles and oodles and oodles of different equivalent ratios of 4 to 6. Okay, what is, last problem, what is 22/4 as a mixed number? Mixed meaning it's mixed between a whole number and a fraction. That's what a mixed number is. That's not our answer here, but that is what a mixed number is. So what we're saying is there are 22/4. So fourths look like this. And if we want 22 of them, that's 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, and then 2 more. So that would be 5 whole numbers and then 1, 2, 2/4, which we could simplify as 1/2. Okay, that's the first way is you can visualize it, right? The second way is you can think, all right, how many times will 4 go into 22? Well, the answer is 5, and then you'll have 2 left over. So you could say 5 and 2/4, which simplified again is 5.5. Either way you want to look at it, that is the correct answer. This right here is your day 95, and have a great time. How many did you get that time? Is your trail paved with some of these, or did you have to pull out all the weeds and make it like harder work? Like once it stays in your brain and you see it enough, then the trail gets really easy and you're just like boom, 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 right? It's like going on a paved road. It's really easy. But if not, then and it's super weedy and you can't really quite remember, it takes a little bit more work, doesn't it? But hopefully with these daily reminders, we can keep those trails paved. See you guys. Great work. See you next time.